Welcome to this special edition where I'm going to walk you through how I built this model in Autodesk Alias from NURBS in one go. What impulse modeling means in this case is what you see was built in one session, and I'm going to give you the most concise overview of my workflow. Now, in order to follow along, you'll need to move around comfortably in the interface and know some basic commands. There's definitely no need to be an Alias Pro, but if you're completely new, don't start here. These reference images are from Netcar Show, and the one I used as a canvas image is from the official Lamborghini site. Note that I didn't know the geometry beforehand and only spent 16 minutes to gather and evaluate the pictures and set up an underlay or canvas for the model. I also made a quick VRED render, plugged it into an existing scene the next day. I'm going to evaluate the data in the final chapter, but first let's see how the modeling process looks like step by step. First, I define the 2D curves. I pull up the file for these curves right after showing you around the main objects, such as this front face, a revolve object around the y-axis, defined by these simple generation curves. I took the 2D curves and projected them on the front surface, creating curves from which I could define flanges. I'm using curves on surfaces for visual evaluation here in order to tweak the shape in Y. All the walls you see here are built using the multi-surface draft command. So far I had defined the dish of the wheel, but the depth of the spokes still had to be adjusted, therefore another revolve object was needed. This one also with history. This rear object was used to trim or cut the flanges. This is the outer rim, yet another revolve, following the same principles. Let's visit the planar curves first, then I go ahead and build surfaces in real time. This is a 19-inch Bellador rim on the front, which means we have a good approximation for the outer diameter. In addition, we can assume that this is a pitch circle diameter of 112 millimeters. After fitting the underlay or canvas image to the circles, I added some concentric references for the main proportions, and these curves represent the symmetry planes. The canvas image is in perspective, so I took the spokes at 3 o'clock, which seemed to be the least distorted. I then used these curves in blue for projection, as you can see in the cookbook file. I switched to light color theme meanwhile, and I'm going to start with the 2D curves and generation curves for the front surface defined in the previous chapter. have to extend these fillets to the front in order to make the proper intersection later. I already have flanges with fillets in between them, and they are hanging from the front surf, so they are positioned in space. Next, I make a copy of the existing front surfaces and add some fillets to them. Let's trim the dark blue front revolve. The trim command can be found under the Surface Edit tab on the palette. Instead of projecting curves, now I'm projecting curves on surfaces. Now is the time to intersect with the fillets. Does it work? How about now? Okay, now I have the fillets, I have the flanges, and remember we need the proper depth. So I'm intersecting the existing geometry with the rear revolve. I'm trimming the geometry with the outer rim. Just make sure you do it before making an array of the spokes. mirrored it, and I'm going to cheat here. Inserted the light blue one from the previous model. Let's extend this surf. I'm trying to speed up the trimming process here by having two surfaces instead of one. A single surface as a sidewall would be ideal, as I have on the original model. I just mirrored it again, and now we have a symmetrical geometry, ready to make a circular array of. Checking surface continuity. This is what we just made. Let's compare it to the original one, meaning the first stake. I'm switching back and forth. You see the original in green. I use the very same commands to build the center area. This was pretty much it for the live demo. You can now close the geometry by making a cutout for the spokes on the outer rim and building the center details. In the final chapter, I'm going to do the PGA in Photoshop. Let's evaluate the model quickly. I'm going to compare it to the canvas image and the reference that was used during modeling. The canvas is the one with the red brake caliper. I'm looking at the thickness of the milled outline, then the proportions of the two hexagons I marked in blue and purple. I'm going to refer to them as diamond and coffin, respectively. As you can see, the two images represent different geometries. Both are renders, the reference images from the official press kit and the canvases, as discussed earlier, from the configurator. The canvas showcases a feasible or at least a more mature looking design. Even if I stick to the simpler press kit version, I'd need to make the coffin shape narrower in the next loop, increase the angle of the flanges, and also add a different angle to the patch I'm pointing at. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Until next time.